Hi and welcome to another episode of This is Australia. Now this episode, it's actually one of those episodes that I really love because it's all about Australia, and for me this is Australia. Now we're gonna look at some stories up here in this beautiful town called Windsor, but I think that we're gonna have to change the name now because we're gonna cover a story that you wouldn't believe, and we're gonna call it Utopia. No more Windsor, forget it. The politicians of New South Wales decided that this place is going to be called Utopia from now on. I'll explain to you in a minute. So Windsor, yeah, that's the real name, Windsor. It's a historic town. This mill was built in 1834, but let's talk to some of the local people. We have with us now Peter, who is a local resident. He lives here in Windsor, and actually he just lives just across the road. And behind me, we have this amazing pub. Looks very old, Peter. Hi.
G'day, Harry. How are you? Good. Yes, it's the oldest hotel in Australia. Dates from 1815. It was built under the direction of Governor Macquarie, who requested that a large building be constructed in this square.
It wouldn't just be somewhere in Sydney, the oldest pub?
Not anymore. They've all gone. The original ones have gone. Yeah. So this is the oldest existing pub in Australia. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's sitting in the oldest town square in Australia.
So this is the oldest town square?
It's the oldest town square, Thompson Square. It dates from 1795.
So what about that the street over there? I can see a lot of beautiful old buildings there as well.
Yeah, that's George Street. It was named after King George. The oldest building in the square is the Shipley Crozier building over there, which dates from 1813. And this is also the oldest business precinct in Australia. Okay. It's been operating as an area of business continuously since 1795. Sydney Cove is obviously older, but it was built over. Parramatta was older by a couple of years, but it has changed. Mm-hmm. And so this is the oldest commercial precinct in Australia. It's the oldest public square in Australia. Okay. We've got the oldest pub in Australia. The history here is absolutely irreplaceable, and the town square itself is the most unique town square in the country.
This is the first bridge that was made in the Hawkesbury River.
It's the oldest crossing of the Hawkesbury River.
Is it called the Windsor Bridge?
Yeah, it's called the Windsor Bridge. Yeah,
okay.
It's built in 1874.
So it was actually built before the Harbour Bridge.
Oh yeah, built a long time before the Harbour Bridge, and it was the first bridge to use cast iron caissons or piers because it was built to withstand the floods.
Now, can I ask something? Back in those days, they actually looked at building a bridge like the Harbour Bridge and other bridges, of course, another infrastructure for the future. Mm-hmm. Okay, these days, I think that the politicians, they don't have the vision the old politicians have.
In 1874, they built a two-lane bridge, to deal with the traffic here.
With the donkeys and the horses and the carriages?
The horses and the carriages, and they built it strong to withstand the floods.
Yeah.
That's why it can
still... Now it takes how many semi-trailers?
It takes trucks every day. Over 2,200 a day.
Every day?
Every day. And over about 22,000 vehicles a day through here every day. Okay.
We talked about the Harbour Bridge and how Premier Lang back then had the vision to build a bridge with 8 lanes.
And the railways.
And the cycling lane. We have actually a pedestrian and a cycling lane. Yeah. And apparently, I don't know, I'll have to check on that, but there is a provision for a second deck underneath the bridge.
Really?
Now, back then,
yes.
What did they have back then? The what did you
Model
call it?
T4.
The Model T4.
That's right.
And probably a lot of donkeys, horses. Not so many donkeys back then, but we had a lot of horses and carriages, right?
Yep.
Okay, that was back then.
Yeah.
With the horses and the carriages. And now they made this thing called Miles 5. I'd call it Miles 5. That's the average speed on the M5.
That's I was on there.
2 lanes.
I was on there I was there last Monday driving to the airport, and it was just an absolute mess.
2 lanes.
Yeah.
Today and back then, 100 years ago, how many? 8 lanes. 8 lanes.
Oh no.
And now here, we've got this amazing bridge that is actually very old, very important, very historic, and of course, it will probably stay here for another 1,000 years.
It could easily.
Yeah.
There's bridges in Europe that are, 2,000 years old that are still in public use, and this was built to a higher standard, so there's no reason why it shouldn't.
Okay, so now basically we've got these politicians, the M5 politicians, right? Today's politicians, and what do they want to do, Peter?
They want to knock down the old two-lane bridge and build a new two-lane bridge.
How many lanes? Sorry,
Two
can you
lanes.
repeat that?
2 lanes. Because the intersections are causing the traffic thing. So
Sorry, mate, I just can't help myself.
we need a bypass.
This is a joke.
It is a joke.
This is a
bad,
joke.
It's a $100 million bad joke.
$100 million for this two-lane bridge.
It is $100 million.
And they want to demolish this historic bridge to build another one for $100 million. They're not Greek politicians.
Don't know.
They're Australians. We do
Well,
things different here in Australia, I thought,
You would,
Peter.
you would hope. We would hope we would do things differently, and you would hope that they would, protect our Australian history. And we're only a young country, and
Exactly.
and we, a lot of the places in the rest of the world, their history, their old places have been built over many, many times.
Yep.
And here we've got the original.
Okay.
So we have to do a bit of
Why
work.
do we actually have to build a bridge here? And I mean, I think
They say that they can't afford a bypass.
wait a second. The bypass is just the other option that you just say.
just go around the town like they do in every other town in this situation.
Okay. Now they've done it in any other towns?
Well, they've done it all up and down the coast, but
So they've done it in other places.
oh yeah, they've done
Not
it.
as historic as Windsor,
No,
of course.
no, of course not.
But they don't really care about history.
Yeah.
That's politicians.
I have to agree with you there. I have to agree with you
Okay.
there. But
There's
even
two
this,
of us then
but even-
that we agree.
Maybe
Maybe more.
This is just an example of bad strategic planning. They want to develop on the other side of the river. They want to do a lot of industry there. There's going to be more housing development. There's going to be industries such as sand mining and quarrying, and people are going to need to cross the river.
Yeah.
So you would think that they would go, okay, well let's build something out of town, a bypass, so all the industry can get quickly and efficiently to where it's got to go into Sydney.
Yeah.
People who need to get into Sydney could drive on the bypass. Keep the old bridge for people who want to come into Windsor.
Yep.
It's already there. Needs a little bit of work to fix it up, but it can be repaired quite economically. And then put the money towards a bypass. No, they're going to knock down the one that works, that's already there,
Yeah.
and then replace it with basically the same thing.
How many letters have you sent to the Premier?
In 2012, we handed in a petition to the Legislative Assembly that had nearly 13,000 signatures on it.
But what about this photo?
Oh, the photo, we've been getting people to sign a letter to the Premier. It's just a
Okay.
pro forma. People
Yeah.
sign it, have put their
So
addresses.
these
and
are all
everything.
letters going to the Premier. Okay.
Going to the Premier.
Amount then.
Yeah, amount
Okay.
now it's close to 20,000
You know
letters.
why I'm asking you?
Why?
Because I actually rang your local MP, the Liberal MP for New South Wales. I can't
Mr.
pronounce
Mr. Perrottet.
It's a
Perrottet.
French name. I can't remember.
Dominic Perrottet.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
It's in there. That's him. Anyway, you know what they said to me?
What?
It's all lies. I asked for an interview and they said, no, you have to send us an email with the questions written. Huh? I beg your pardon? What are you scared of? Why didn't you want to come and talk to us on camera and tell us about this? You want to demolish this historic bridge, this beautiful historic bridge, and you want to build another one that is 2 lanes over there, instead of spending another 80 million to go on the other side. This is very un-Australian to me.
It is un-Australian.
I'm so proud to be Australian, and things like this and make me very sad. I think
Especially-
I'm in a third world country, really.
And especially when you think that this is, Australia, we pride ourselves on mateship, a fair go for people, and this is where it began.
Yeah.
This is where it began, where
That's
Governor
This is-
Macquarie drew a line. Again, the historians say, he in Thompson Square he signed a contract with the Australian people, and the historian Jan Barclay Jack, I think it's Jan, said that the very foundations of the Australian character are buried in the clay of Thompson Square. Now, the New South Wales government wants to bulldoze that clay. And we're saying, no, you're not going to do it. They admit that we need a bypass.
So
but-
they know that that's the way to
and
go.
and they know that they're going to have to build a bypass within the next 10 years.
Right. Okay.
So why not do it now?
So basically-
save $100 million.
Yeah, we spent $100 million. That's okay. We've got plenty. We spend $100 million now, and then maybe 10 years' time we spend another 180.
And we'll trash Australia's history in the meantime. I'm trying to be very calm here.
I can see that. So do I.
Yes. But
Peter,
thanks, Harry.
thank you very much. It was
Pleasure. It's a
pleasure
pleasure.
to meet you.
Yeah, pleasure to meet you too. And
Just keep soldiering on.
well,
I
yeah,
think that it's
yeah,
important
yeah,
that
well, hopefully you'll come out and see us again.
definitely. No, I'm just going to go outside. I'm going to just sit outside the office there. of the French named MP. I can't even say his name. And I'm going to just stay there with the camera. I'm just going to wait for him. I need an answer. I just need someone to tell me. It must be a logic on the other side. And I have to get both sides of the story.
There is not one heritage expert or historian in Australia that supports this project and supports what they want to do.
Okay.
As the RMS seems to be the all-knowing god of New South Wales at the moment.
I'm here now at Thompson Square Occupation Centre. And I have with me Harry. He's one of the occupiers. Harry, hi.
Hi, how are you, Harry?
I'm very good. Tell me, how many days you've been here?
On the 15th of April, this will be here 1,000 days.
1,000 days. Can you believe this? I think that's a record.
We believe it is.
Now, this is Australia. This is Australia for me. When you say 1,000 days, you come here for 8 hours every day and then you go home.
Oh, no. We have two people here all the time, 24/7.
You mean at night time as well?
At night time, we do 4-hour shifts.
And what do you do in winter?
Oh, we have a gas heater and we keep warm and we just enjoy being with other people.
This makes me proud to be Australian because this is what Australia is all about. We are fighting for our rights. But no one is listening really, is it? The people listening, but what about the politicians?
The politicians and the Roads and Maritime Services aren't, but certainly the local people are.
How many times the local MP has visited you here?
None. I'm sorry, one.
Oh.
It was once before he became our member, when he was still waiting for the election to come.
At election time?
Yes, before election.
But isn't that typical politician?
Yes, indeed. And for a Minister of Finance, he should be visiting us and finding out why we are so passionate about it. And at the time, he did say to the two ambassadors who were here, if the project's a good project, it was his job to find the money. So we're waiting for him to find the money.
Okay. We were talking before with Peter
Yes.
about the Harbour Bridge
Yes.
and how back then the Premier Lang had the vision
Yes.
to build 8 lanes
Yes.
with the horses and carriages.
Yes.
What do you think about the politicians today?
I think they're very short-sighted. They're not looking for the future. That's why we're so passionate about our project here, because we're arguing for good asset management and good planning for the future, because that's what we're fighting for, a future for us, future for our children, and fighting for a future for everyone who uses the bridge.
Peter, thank you very much. I really admire what you do. I have to buy myself a hat so I can take my hat off to you. And I don't know what to say. I got goosebumps just thinking what you guys have been through all these years, just because the politicians, they don't listen to the people anymore.
No, somehow or other they just want to listen to the RMS and they don't want to listen to what we who live here.
Yeah. Well, thank you again.
Thank you, Harry.
It's a privilege to know you.